from all of them, we'll officially get started. As always, if you have any questions for me or our guests, please throw them in the chat. We'll monitor the chat during the episode and address any questions or comments you have during or afterwards. So just hang tight until we're set up on all our three accounts. Okay, we got 2 out of 3. Third one's coming in. Okay, so it seems like we're live on all of our platforms. So I'll go ahead and get started and read it out. Okay. Welcome back to Coach Connect. Here's where we explore the stories and strategies and insights from trailblazers who are transforming the world of coaching well-being. What drives their success? What fuels their passion for helping others? We're here to uncover their secrets and share them with you. This show is brought to you by Value.io, the all-in-one coaching platform designed to empower coaches with tools, resources, and support we need to thrive and help our clients achieve meaningful, long-lasting growth. I'm Dr. Diego Salinas, your guide on this journey. As a neuroscientist, physician, health and wellness coach, and co-founder of Vibely, I'm committed to celebrating the incredible work of coaches everywhere and helping them unlock their full potential. So together, let's dive in deep into what makes coaching a powerful force of change. My guest today is Meg Root. She's a nationally board-certified health and wellness coach with a master's degrees in kinesiology and integrative wellness, who's enjoyed a successful career in health, fitness, and well-being industries spanning more than 35 years. Her professional journey and expertise have evolved across many roles, including group fitness instructors and program coordination, personal trainer, a contributing writer, conference presenter, corporate health and wellness coach, training and development manager, and adjunct professor. She's the author of the popular Substack Lean Into Coaching, which offers insights, practical strategies, and coaching wisdom to help board-certified coaches and those working towards certification bridge the gap between training and certification and successful launch of their solo practices and career. Through her Lean Into Coaching business, she offers several one-on-one business coaching experiences designed to help coaches step confidently into professional identities and build systems and processes to successfully find and land coaching clients. Meg Root was named 2023 Coach of the Year at the inaugural The Health and Wellbeing Coaching Conference, and Meg is committed to supporting individual coaches and coaching professions to achieve elevated, sustainable career paths and compensation structures. So Meg, welcome to the episode. So glad to have you back on and to reconnect with you again.
Yeah, Diego, thank you for having me. I feel honored to be part of your lineup. I've been a fan of the podcast since it started, and this is a milestone for me. So thank you.
Honored to have you, Meg. I've been a fan of your Substack, and I've heard about you before. I actually met you in different circles, and once we did meet,
Right.
it's been a wonderful connection. And we really share so much passion for helping people get started. So this was to me a
Right.
no-brainer. So Meg, I read your incredible bio, but I'm always kind of curious that initial origin, right? What kind of got you started into serving others, helping others, and then leading into coaching?
I think to answer that question, I'll kind of line it up to the work that I'm doing right now. Like I said, I've been doing this since the very beginning. This has been a career path for me. So I studied education in college. I was a competitive athlete. And when I graduated, the fitness industry was just getting started. So I'm really going to date myself with that one. And I took a role in a gym as kind of a floor trainer and just fell in love with fitness, health, and wellness. I think a pivotal part of my career was my husband and I stumbled upon the destination spa industry when we went to work for a place called Rancho La Puerta, which is in Baja, California. We lived and worked there. So we lived the life of wellness there for over 8 years. And oftentimes we say we came out of retirement to to uh, to have our children and have a real life because it was a beautiful life. But I really fell in love with this concept of health, well-being, and kind of living aligned with values and wellness. Fast forward, I went back to school after my kids were kind of grown and got my master's in kinesiology. And then there was this kind of path towards becoming board certified. But honestly, Diego, I've been kind of coaching my whole career. It's funny when I look back in 1996, I actually wrote an article for Idea Health and Fitness called The Coach Approach, because
Mm.
back then I was teaching fitness, I was personal training, and I really started to kind of think about, we should stop bossing people around so much and try to kind of engage them in the class or engage them in the personal training session. So I kind of had an inkling that this was a path for me. But after getting my master's, sitting for the board, said, I want to do this thing, coaching. And I knew it was important that I coach a lot. So I actually took a job with a corporate health and wellness coaching company where I went on site 2 days a week for 10 hours, worked a 10-hour
Mm.
shift, and just coached in a workplace setting. Um, it served two purposes. It allowed me to coach a lot, which I think was really important at the very beginning to hone my
Mm-hmm.
skills. It also enabled me to reach a population that I hadn't been able to reach in this kind of high-end destination spa industry. Really wanted to see what was it like working with people whose day-to-day didn't feel necessarily like a spa. So
Mm.
I really enjoyed that. Moved into training and development in that company, and actually my role was onboarding all our coaches into their workplace setting. So it was almost like onboarding people into their own mini businesses, right? So we had a process, we had
Mm.
a structure. We took people, and within a week, we made them ready to go for their first day at work, right? Get out of your car, walk across the parking lot, and hello, my name is Meg Root, and I'm here as your health and wellness coach. That was my role.
Wow.
In 2024, like many coaches, my company did a reorganization and they eliminated three of the four training and development roles, mine being one of them. And so, honestly, that afternoon, I thought to myself, now what do I do? What we actually, the question we often ask ourselves when we're certified, I said, now what do I do? And I could have
Yeah.
done a lot of different things. I knew I wanted to continue to work. I could reboot my coaching. I could get a new job. But I thought to myself, you know what? I really think I have something. I have a lot of institutional knowledge, been doing this a long time myself. And I just had this experience of getting people up and running in like a mini solo practice. And I saw
Mm.
that as a real gap in our industry. Right. And I know you and I have really talked about this. Right. So we have a
Yeah.
really strong training programs. I mean, you can have your pick of the litter, whatever you want to do, there's a training program for you. We have a strong path towards certification and a very credible certification in the board certification. But it's almost like then there's a cliff, we get to the
Oh yeah.
edge and then there's this drop off. Now, what do I do? Where are the opportunities? How do I get my solo practice up? And I really wanted to see if I could be of service in that um, area, right? So I literally got up the very next morning at the same time that I went to work every day, and I started to work for myself and I started to work for other coaches to try to solve this puzzle of I'm certified. Now, what do I do?
Yeah. That I yeah, definitely reminds me of me back in the day and a lot of my people I mentor, right? You learn so much of this wonderful skill set of coaching. You can see the implications of this is more widely accepted. And Meg, you definitely being a trailblazer early on, saying maybe we shouldn't stop screaming at people, tell us what to do. We should maybe
Right.
walk along with them and motivate them instead. So you're definitely one of the earlier ones that helped us start
Right.
changing that way. And so I think when you're in training, this is aha moment, like, wow, this is can be very powerful and transformative.
Mhm.
And there's all these visions of where it goes, but there's this huge chasm, this huge gap between like, the now what, right? And I'll be honest with you, I said this before. I thought, okay, I'm graduated, like I have this background. It should be easy, but it's a process, and there's
Easy.
no training in coaching about the practice of coaching or business or management. So you really sounded like you had this experience almost because of your training role, and you kind of learn how to create systems and how to get people up and started, saying, "Wait, I can use this and really fill the gap so people can gather and really give their gift of coaching."
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what I saw is that I saw honestly what I was seeing on social media, like the struggle and the language around the struggle, I thought could be solved by actually shining a light on it's actually easier than you think to launch, and it's more functional than mental, honestly, because we had a checklist where I worked and we just
Hmm.
took people through the checklist. And as they moved through that checklist each day, Monday through Friday, I could see their confidence, their insight, their excitement, their passion coming through as they became more realized that they had tools, professional tools to use. They had strategies, they had ways to reach out. And over the course of that week, that confidence grew so that on
Mm.
day one, they were really able to step into that professional identity ready to go. And honestly, if I could kind of align with that, I think some of the struggles that coaches have in that early startup phase, imposter syndrome, not wanting to sound salesy, afraid of putting themselves out there. To me, those are just symptoms that you don't have your storefront, the tangible processes and systems set up to make you feel like you have something really solid, clear, and
Mm.
valuable to offer, right? So it's almost like
That is,
taking a
yeah.
step back and giving yourself permission to not be out there selling until the store is open, right?
Yeah. So much to unpack there, Meg. I think there's one thing you said earlier on there was we actually know how to do it. It's a little easier than you think. And it's
Yeah.
funny, as coaches, we help others go through processes that are long processes and learn new skill set and take new points of view. Right. And ultimately, when you're starting your business, that's what you're doing now. Right. And people go,
Absolutely.
"Well, I don't know about sales or marketing." I'm like, 6 months ago, you didn't know about coaching either.
Right. Exactly.
Right. So if you take that beginner mindset, and what do we do as coaches? We help people who know the kind of that big North Star vision, and we work
Mhm.
on not just the steps and the motivation and confidence
Yeah.
to do it. So we actually already intrinsically, all us coaches know there is a structure in place to make transformation, and we can apply it to anything, including your own business. Right. So I think there's a lot of coaches that see this. It's so clear we help others, but they don't often take that same thing that that core principles and apply it to, "Well, I can then learn anything in this case," right? I think that it is much more accessible. Well, with some support, it is much more accessible than you seem.
Yep. I really think you hit it on the head there, where you say we don't always take our own advice, in this phase of starting a new behavior, a new vision. We don't even necessarily have a vision for what that launch or their startup phase looks like. I mean, we know down the road we want to be sitting on a beach with our laptop open, serving clients for, at a price, price point that allows us to be on that beach, right? But that's down
Mhm.
there. So it's kind
Yeah.
of about pulling the lens back, tightening the lens, right? And to your point, I call it the launch scenario. Where do you want to see yourself in actually 3 to 6 months? I mean, actually 3 months. I think the tighter it is, the more kind of urgency it gives you to kind of show up every day and make it happen the way I started to
Yeah.
do. But so that's that goal, right? And then breaking it down into manageable steps. And honestly, even I call it the tale of two lists. At that stage, after you have that launch scenario, then you have the ability to, on the left side, what are the things that I need to launch? Really, just what do I need to do to be able to take a client and have them pay
Yeah.
me? And then what are all those fabulous ideas I have that go in the grow column, right? And just putting them almost like in a little parking lot. I notice when I share that approach with coaches, I immediately see an exhale in their, kind of their whole demeanor. It's just like,
Yeah.
you mean I don't have to start a podcast? You mean I don't have to have, a program to sell? You mean I don't have to be,
Yes.
doing a marketing funnel right off the bat? Those kind of things. It's almost like we need to give ourselves permission to fully launch before we start to swim over there into the grow ideas, which are all fabulous. And I'll tell you, coaches are no coaches is at a loss for a fabulous and even unique idea to them. But oftentimes
Yeah.
we got to launch before we can grow.
Yeah, Meg, I want to spend some time on that because I think that when the way you present that to me even gave me a huge aha of how to talk about it, because you come out, in training and you're okay, gotta grow my business, right? But you're right, growing the second step, right? And that you don't go down this rabbit hole. Should I market? Should I do this? Should I create a course and get the 100K coaching business up and running? Like all these
Right.
things. And to the point, what do kids do? They crawl first and they walk and they run. It's again
Yeah.
that process of growth. And there's such, I think people view it as business. So it is all these things, but they're very distinct stages. That's your point. I think it's really important for people to understand launching is a very different thing than growing. And I see people constantly ask about marketing funnels and this and this. I go, don't spend $1 on marketing if there's no worth that funnel to catch. Right? Funnels go to a management system. If you don't have a way to take payments, sign the contract, and schedule something,
Right.
don't go out in the world to say who you are. Right? And so it's both for business operations makes sense, right? Like, and there's plenty of stuff showing if you can take a payment when someone's ready to pay you. When you go to buy a car, they don't say, come back a week later, let me figure it out to pay me, right? Sign the dot there.
Exactly.
You
They
want
have-
to really meet that client where it's at. So I say management comes first before marketing, because if you don't have anywhere to funnel to go, there's no point in creating a funnel. And this first part is actually a little simpler because the funnels and the ways to get people to you, to your point, are so beautifully varied. Depends on what you're doing, what kind of thing you envision.
Right.
But the
Yeah.
end is still the same. I have to take a payment, schedule kind of you send, etc. So, and this, to your point, there's steps to it actually. And I heard you say their confidence grew. And one of my mentors told me, Meg, confidence is success remembered.
Oh, I love that. That's a beautiful
Right.
way to say self-efficacy. I almost, I love self-efficacy, but I love the way that you just phrased it. Confidence is success.
It's past success remembered.
Yeah, absolutely. It really is. And I'll tell you, when I went into corporate, and actually it's kind of a funny story that I went into corporate because you hear a lot of people saying, I left corporate and took a job in spa, right? Because I did the opposite. I left this amazing spa, where there were hiking trails and organic food, and went into like busy break rooms where people were popping popcorn and cubicles and things like that. I really loved it, and I learned a lot there. And it's so funny. I always lose my train of thought. What were we talking about? Because I wanted to
we're saying that confidence, success remembered, and you kind of that was something you tied into that. I was really emphasizing that launching is different than growing.
This is what I want to share.
These launching steps. They're good.
Yeah. So this is what I want to share. When I went into corporate, I remember the very first thing that happened in my training is I get this little packet and they say, set up your signature line, right? And then they gave us a format, needed to look professional, it needed to align with the brand, because we were going to start communicating with people, and the company, they said, don't say be well, say, thank you. We had this very clear structure so that we would show up looking professional, like we knew what we were talking to and aligned with the brand. So I say to coaches, the very first thing you should do, and it felt so good to me to like set up my signature line, be part of this company, be part of a brand, and be starting to put myself out there in my new identity as a corporate health coach. Guess what? We had that available. the very first thing you can do is you can set up your email signature line. You can go to the national board and get that super fun badge. You can put, I've started to put a little, picture of me speaking at the bottom of me, so that now when I need to follow up with somebody, I'm following up, I'm stepping confidently into this identity in a very simple way and just owning it. So that's what I think you and me are talking about, is these funnel. The funnel is out there. It's overwhelming and we're not even sure if it works. But a personal email where you show up as a skilled professional with a very specific certification is not only putting your, good for the receiver, it's good for you. You start to really feel like you're owning it. And then to your point, build on that. Like, wow, I've got my signature line set up. That felt good. Now what can I, now what's the next thing I can do? Right?
Yeah. And something you said in the first part of your story too, you said the very next day I got up at the same time and did it. And I think it's an important part of understanding running your own business. When you're employed by someone, they're doing a lot of stuff behind the scenes to get that person in front of you to coach them. Right? Now you are the person doing all that part. So you get to see the whole process. So you're going to be doing more of that process, right? And initially there's going to be more of a ratio of the doing to the coaching, right? Because even coaching, if you look at the amount of hours worked amongst the whole company, it's not only coaching hours, there's billing hours, there's admin, there's people marketing. And so I heard this phrase too, if you treat it a hobby, it's going to be your hobby. Treat this, put the hours into it like you were if you were starting someone hired to create a coach training program or educational series, right? It is something, it's not going to, always says no to knock on the door to give you money for your business. You have to go out in the world for those things. And showing up, like we ask our clients to do, and taking those small little steps, right? And that actually there's a story that I'm going to share the last episode, but it really reminds me of what we're talking about. I was doing a live demo a few months ago, maybe 1 or 2 months ago. And one of my someone who was a former student of mine showed up. I think 2 years ago before that, and so it's great seeing on the phone. Hey, good to see you again. Retired professional, and now doing coaching and really enjoying the process, trying to start her own practice. And she had all these questions. And I love people with questions, very curious person. I realized the questions she had were like stuff that's like years on the line.
Yeah.
Right. And I would start answering that, and I paused because we're also in a big group with other people who are also getting started. But she was asking these grow questions, not these launch questions. And I paused and I said, and it came from a very passionate place. I'll be honest, I felt a little trepidation out there, but I'm a coach. I feel comfortable just throwing out there. I was like, can I be frank with you? I'm like, I think you're getting in your own way. I was like, you're asking questions about 3 years from now, and you don't even have a profile up. I was like, we don't ask clients to plan for 2029. We plan for this next week. And as you do these things, you'll learn what the next question to ask. Okay, signature line, what is that, right? And that it can be so overwhelming looking at here. What we tell our clients, go for that first step. If you haven't launched, don't have a system yet, really go down to that level first, and show up every day. And the doing is what creates the next questions. At some point, the rubber has to meet the road. And I'll be honest, I've done this myself too, Meg. Sometimes doing research or learning more is productive procrastination. If you spend,
it's productive, right? Exactly. Or I love Cal Newport. He's kind of like he wrote a great book called "Be So Good They Can't Ignore You," and he calls it pseudo productivity. Right? It's like learning, posting, fixing my website, all those things that don't necessarily drive in the early stages. And you and me are talking about launch and startup, which honestly can be the whole first year, right? Is gaining that visibility, gaining traction, and things like that. But those things are good, but getting them perfect keeps us from doing the real things that are going to bring clients into our Zoom room, right?
Yeah.
I love the work. If I could share, I really love the work of Dory Clark. You can find her on LinkedIn. She's written two great books that I like called "Reinvent Yourself" and "Stand Out." And I've been following her concept of one to one. Got to go one to one first. Got to reach out proactively and get people that you can see, people that you can touch, people that are within reach, and invite them into conversations with you around your coaching, around how you help, and things like that. Then you move to one to many, and then you eventually it can translate into many to many, this kind of viral. I feel like a lot of the marketing advice that coaches are listening to is going the opposite. The funnel. The funnel is the one to many. And the podcast, even like a lot of people say, I heard I should have a podcast, or heard I should write a book. That's actually many to many. After idea has some traction and people start, like what's taken in to not only do the podcast, put the podcast up, market the podcast, get people to listen to the podcast. But you were ready for it, right? Because you kind of have this platform. You were at the coaching conference 2 or 3 years ago talking to us about the seed of this idea. I remember when it came up to our table, I was like, oh my gosh, who's this person? Is he real? Is he credible? Is he in it for himself? I don't know who this person is. But I have to tell you that I've had various touch points. This is relationship building with you. And every single time I've had a touch point with you, you have shown up as Diego. Diego is Diego,
For better or
and
for
now
worse.
yeah, I mean, I trust you. I know what you're talking about. You have our best interest in mind. You are building from, I mean, you're a board certified coach. You're building from that perspective. But the first time people see us, they're not so sure about us. We're not so sure how to even put ourselves out there, right? So it's
Yeah.
that one to one. So going viral, that's grow. Great podcast. Love those ideas. You might be the right person for that. But let's talk about how you first go local versus trying to go global, right?
Yes. You're so right. You said this, Meg. Like, I love talking to you because some of the things that, like, you really bring to light what should feel more obvious, but it isn't staring in our face. But the way you put it is so elegant, right? That we get overwhelmed this the many to many. But many, if you look at many marketing perspectives, they always say the first part is get those first 5 clients. How to viably start? It wasn't going to sponsor a conference. It was like talking to people in your network little by little, and building. And relationships are business about relationships, about building it, that trust. And to your point, people meet you, people have feelings about you for reasons beyond your control, right? But are you showing up in those small circles? And the hard part is getting that traction started. But you do have to go to your that one-to-one, that network level. And people often think marketing means, well, what's my all this visual stuff online? I'm like, in person, you're marketing all the time in a sense, right? Who you are,
Right.
how you're showing. Like to your point, May, I appreciate you saying every time I came up, I don't think of it that way, but I was being consistent each time. And like
Mhm.
that's and people are so worried about this. I'm like, make sure that when you meet someone in person after you do, you have that QR code ready to show to learn more. Because that's how all my private practice is really locally doing work live events, right? There's so many ways to get that
Mhm.
growth phase, but it's really no matter what industry it is, and whether you talk to someone who's really like a heartfelt marketer or kind of hardcore old school. It's all about those first few clients, those first 5, first 10. It is that manual knocking on doors, so to speak, and to get that. And then, yeah, after a while, you'll see like it's wonderful to get to the point of referrals because now someone calls and they say, hey, someone referred me to you. That trust is already built in there. Oh, let me pause, see if I'm lagging a little bit. Oh, sorry, I think a little lag there. That part is much easier, but the referral would have never happened had I not been bold enough to go out there and get that first person to do that, and then make sure you have professional services. And I think maybe Meg, it's time to talk about like what is that first launch sequence? Because I remember initially it took me so long to get anything up. Part of why I built Lively was my own pain points, right?
Yeah.
First website was, I talked to a coach a few months, like 2 months ago. She's been working 10 months on her website. And I laughed, but I was like, yeah, well, my first site too. I am not a visual person, this.
Mhm.
And I thought, don't worry, I'll give him my cell phone, I'll give him this. People want to know, if you're professional, what professional system, what makes you different from a guy with a webcam, right? So
Mhm.
I actually, if you can talk about that, and I think there is the mindset shift that happens too. I think I want to call out this. You mentioned imposter improvisation.
Mhm.
The road is crazy walking. You're not the expert in launching this now, but it's the doing every time you're learning more. And every time it's, hey, it didn't work well. You know how many elevator speeches I gave that were just mumbled garbage that didn't land? And I learned
Right?
to stop saying coaching is a
Yeah.
neuroscience, blah, 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 blah,
Right.
and now just focus more in, right? But you're not going to learn that if you don't a little bold enough. So there's a mindset, you have that beginner's learning mindset that we ask our clients. So let's assume, Meg, we get the learning mindset. Could you maybe describe a little more? What is that like? What does it mean to have that launch sequence? What comes to you? Be like, all right, Meg, I just graduated.
Absolutely.
Now what? What do you tell them?
I will share that, but I want to share a little story right here because I think
Please.
I really am into the practical nature, offering practical tips. And I think I want to tell you a story about what you just said. You said, "Oh, I started these, giving these talks on neuroscience, and the first one's like gobbledygook, and like, what was I saying? And it didn't even land." Not 1 week ago, Diego, and this shows many to many, okay? Because you've stuck with it over time, you didn't give up. You didn't say, I don't know how to say it. You just said, how can I say this better? How can I tweak this so that it does land? If I have a message, how can I get it so people can hear it? Last week, I was talking to my fun co coach of mine. We meet regularly and support each other. And I said, she was at the Health and Wellbeing Coaching Conference. And I said I was doing this podcast or something like that. And she said, I love Dr. Diego. She said, I have to tell you, that talk he gave on neuroscience really landed with me. I mean, like, those are her words. She said he really was able to put together, that difficult science and translate it into something that I can really use with my, in my group coaching sessions. So just sticking with it, and honing your message, sometimes getting support for, communication skills or speaking skills or business skills, wherever you kind of feel like you need a little nudge or edge, shows you that over time, if you just keep showing up, you get better through practice and doing and honing and experiencing, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's just demonstrative of the
I
mindset that we're
appreciate
going to
that.
talk about right now, where you said, well, how do we
Yeah.
translate this? I mean, number one, you want it, and this Substack, I just wrote on this concept of going all in, and it was actually a very popular Substack of mine. It resonated with people, and at the very beginning, you have to kind of say, okay, now I've gone through the training. I wouldn't even wait to be certified. I mean, when you're trained, you're trained. You have your
Yep.
certification. Sitting for the board is just going to validate that. So you can actually start building and coaching right after you're certified, and you
100%.
could save months of just waiting.
And you need to even sit for the boards. Like, to everyone who's not a coach
When
yet, you
you
need to have
go,
practice. In order to become a
exactly.
surgeon,
You
you got
need
to
to
first to be a
start.
resident and do some surgery in residency, right? Like, it's part
Yeah,
of becoming that final step.
exactly. So I think that concept of all in, and when I say all in, I actually want to clarify what I'm talking about, because I sat down the next day and I went all in 40 to 50 hours a week. I mean, that's what I did with my job. And I was like, I'm going to have to unpack this. It's going to take a lot. My kids are launched, my husband is a workaholic. So I had a lot of time on my hands. So I gave it the 40 or 50 hours that I had. But even if you only have 10 hours a week, if you can go all in with those 10 hours, like you have a job, you have to be on time, you have to be dressed, you have to be in front of your computer. You have to pause your calls. You need daycare, whatever it is, outside of an emergency, you're going to show up. And for those 10 hours, you're going to be productive. Okay. So going all in is important. And then sticking with it, giving it patience. It's not going to unfold for you in 3, 6 months, maybe even a year. You're not going to I hate to say these things, but because
But
it's
it's
not good for
truly
my business.
understand that, Meg.
Not good if I don't have a sexy
Yeah.
message, but I mean, I've lived it, and I just want to share. Part of my going all in was offering these pro bono sessions, and I've actually done close to 100 of them over the last year. So this is not me speaking from my own perspective. This is kind of social proof, which is something else we need. So I've talked to coaches, and I've seen them go, I have all these ideas, I don't know what to do with them, right? And that's where I came up when I saw them going like this, week after week, showing up. I said, okay, let's do this with all those ideas. Let's organize them, launch, grow. And then, all of a sudden I was like, and then I could see, I got feedback. Oh, that resonates. Okay. So launch scenario, set a timeline like this. I would put it at 12 weeks. I found working one-on-one with people that 12 weeks is a really, really good amount of time to really step into that idea, get your system set up, and just be ready to invite people into conversation. So launch scenario, grow versus launch versus grow list.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, you gotta be able to take a client, like you say. And this is going to sound like a plug for Vibely. I did migrate over. I did it the DIY, do it yourself. Yeah, I did it the DIY myself. Calendly, Zoom, Venmo with the pizza emoji, so no one saw that I was running a business kind of thing. I did that myself, right? I did it for a while because I was eyeballing. So I was a lurker. I was eyeballing Vibely. I was like, I want to see what they're getting. And as you grew, I started to see, wow, this thing is getting more and more and more functional, right? Okay. But whatever you do, a platform where you can appointment setting, uh, take payment, and store your notes in a HIPAA compliant way. Again, if you were working for a corporation, like I did, we had that. We had a way to schedule clients, bring them in seamlessly, capture their notes in a HIPAA compliant way, right? So, and you always say, if you want to be professional, you need to have professional tools. So that's when I was like, okay, I don't think this asking them to send me a pizza emoji is looking too professional. I think I need to up my game, right? So you need to be able to do that because at any time, funnel or no funnel, you have to be ready when that person says yes to provide a frictionless onboarding process for them. Okay, if you're sending them a DocuSign over here and you're sending them a Calendly link over there, think about the people that we work with. They are often in the early stages of change, and any little glitch, any little barrier,
Yes.
any little obstacle that makes wellness feel like one more chore on their already busy to-do list. Think of those busy moms, think of those busy executives. If they can't get through to you and understand how to communicate and know that you're protecting their valuable health information this day and age, then there's a chance that they're gonna run the other way or just say, I just don't have time
Well,
for it right now. Okay. So you need that
yeah.
kind of ability to take a client seamlessly and have a frictionless onboarding process. And honestly, I think Vibely provides that. Like I said, I've migrated over there. There's a lot of pluses that we could go into, but that's one of them. That's for launch. Okay.
Yeah.
And then number
Man,
three,
can I pause you?
Yeah,
Oh, go
yeah.
ahead. Number three. Number three. Go ahead. Go
Let
ahead.
me do number 3 and then we'll unpack all
Yeah.
that. And number 3, I call it your coach introduction. We learned it as your pitch, your elevator pitch. But this is what I spoke on at the Health and Wellbeing Conference.
Yes, it was a
And I
great
truly
talk, by the
believe
way, for
this.
those who were there.
The Prosperous Coach, it's kind of a book that has kind of some viralness to it. But one of the messages I really liked in there was no coaching is going to be sold outside of a conversation. I think that's true. No one's going to go to your Instagram page. I mean, very few. I won't say no one, but there's a small chance that normal people like me, with not this kind of viral Instagrammy influencer vibe, who wants to really coach, is going to pick it up off your website or your Instagram. It's going to be an invitation into that discovery call, right? So that discovery call, which is actually a sales call, is
Yes.
where you can invite people into a coaching conversation with you and actually give them a taste and feel for the transformational value of what we're offering. It's very hard to describe in a one. I help women over 40 find their flirt. I mean, yes, we need that because we have to put that up in various places. But we can actually bring that to light. Bring that 40-year-old woman into a conversation and say, I'd love to know what's important to you about your health and well-being. Then they share. Then we use our powerful coaching skills, listening, reflecting, affirmations. And we can even create some urgency, right? We say that's urgency. Book now or you're going to lose the opportunity to work with for me. I'm not sure that kind of urgency is as effective as saying, wow, it sounds like you really struggle to find time to put your own self on the to-do list. And yet you don't want to let your family down. You want to show up for your kids. You want to be the mom you know you can be. I'm hearing that. What would your life look like? You could either say, what would your life look like if you could make that happen for yourself and had some support? You could also play around with doing it the opposite way. What would your life look like if you just keep living that way?
Yeah.
I hear you care about your children and you want to. So that's that urgency. We have to, and that ability to make coaching a need to have and not just a nice to have. Flourishing is nice to have, but being the mom that you can be and what that means for your children and your family's future, that's a need to have. But that's got to be unpacked in a conversation. And then once you hear that, it's your opportunity to queue up a really value added expression of your how coaching and working with you can help. And in that conversation, you can bake in powerful words, we can partnership language, autonomy. We're in this together. Those are very powerful. We know that from motivational interviewing, that using that language actually moves people toward change. We can't do that on our website. We can only do that in a conversation. Go. Do you remember?
So much wisdom to
Or did I?
unpack.
Yeah.
I took a handful of notes, but honestly, like I really sincerely mean there's so much in there wisdom to unpack. We'll have to have a continued follow-up episode. Let me highlight a few points that kind of stuck to my mind there. First of all, I really do appreciate, and this is not a plug for Viley, but my goal with Viley was to give solo coaches the tools of a big company for a solo practice. Because when I work for big companies, like, oh my God, they have these easy schedules and this, and then here I am before Vibely, it was like this thing here and this contract here and this and this. And I'll share a story. I had a discovery call like 3 weeks ago. I had to hold back my laughter compared to what I used to do and what I've done. And you mentioned you might lose people. I've lost people from not having that bottom of the funnel there. And there's more than they want to count. First of all,
Yeah.
the first year of training without having any kind of web presence, the people, oh, I want to know more about you. Here's my phone number. I'll talk to you for an hour. They want us somewhere to like just peruse and nurture that sequence themselves, right? So I sort of think of those people who I met and then know where to send them to. But there have been people who I've been on a discovery call. To your point, discovery calls are sales calls if they're a good fit for both of you. I think you did really nice job at the end there, Meg, of showing how when you're doing from a coach perspective, sales is not a four-letter word in that sense. Like, you're not trying to trick someone into it. You want to make sure you're actually a good fit. And if you really think you could help someone, of course you want to help them.
Mhm.
And the reality is, a lot of the coaching skills are in sales. When I get a random sales call, I look at it differently now, right? And realize, oh, they're asking me a future with and without change. That's a coaching thing, right? And so if you actually have a product that does make a difference for someone, and we know how coaching is transformational, right? And they're in that contemplative stage, we actually have more of those skills that you know. I think the problem was, I remember I'm gonna jump around here, different orders, but I was on a business panel where I teach, and a student asked me last year, she goes, how do I tell them how good, this is a Duke program, how can I tell them how good the Duke coach training program is when I'm on a discovery call? And I was like, can I be honest with you? That's the exact wrong thing to do. I was like, ask them about what their needs are. It's not about you. It's what you can support them with. And that's why I was mentioning, Meg, initially, I was like, okay, neuroscience, blah, blah. And I'm talking the whole discovery call. They should be talking more. And I'm listening. Am I a good fit for them? Not can I sell them? Because I'll be honest, I had a client discovery call last year. I thought this guy was it was a referral for an adolescent client. I was like, I think you're just going to say yes to me. I'm not going to help you out. I'm just going to waste your parents' money. And so I didn't take on as a client. It wasn't a good fit. It was too, right? So you have integrity in sales, right? And then, and to the point made earlier, this is a process you learn, because you're going to learn from listening to your clients what the language is. If they say, I want more time with kids, don't say, I help you optimize circadian rhythm cycles so that I help busy professionals spend time with your kids. And I used to overdo this stuff. So we have it more internally than we think. We have to be aware of it. And so I did try to piece it together. And I'll tell you a story that I don't share very often, but I remember I had a discovery call on a Friday afternoon. It was a long weekend, like 4:30. I had a flight that night. And I went over the call, right? And I'm like, listen, I gotta go. I'm like, but no problem. When I get back Tuesday, I'll send you everything, all that stuff, right? Got back Tuesday. I did since I think Wednesday morning, Tuesday night. Ping him again. And to your point, actually, I think I'm okay. There's a study in sales that if you can respond to someone's needs when they're ready to purchase, your chance of closing that increases 391%.
Wow.
Right. And so compared to that experience, and then even when they landed, it took me, I'll be honest with you, after a discovery call, an hour and a half. I would contract it with their name and this and figure out DocuSign and pay all the money for that. And then it was like, okay, do I send them an invoice? I create something on Word and do this and send this for, ask them for all that stuff. By the way, some of those tools you mentioned are not HIPAA compliant. Calendly is not HIPAA compliant. First of all, and even the integration between these can be problematic. And then send the welcome packet with the forms and this and this. It was an hour and a half sometimes. Versus the last discovery call I had, and the last few obviously through Vibely, in 45 minutes start to finish, make sure we're a good fit, about 20, 30 minutes in. Once we're a good fit, before we hung up call, I created a custom package for each of these people, because one wanted a payment plan and one wanted to do a half day in person, can come down here to Florida. I'm like, all right. We had custom plans for each one. Sign the custom contract, because my contract is set up that all I put is what the total is, and they fill this information out. Sign the contract. As they were signing the contract on Vibely, I sent the welcome forms. And we scheduled our first session. So during my discovery call, I got paid for the full amount or simple payment plan, signed the contract, send the welcome forms, and set our schedule.
Right.
Hung up. And you know how less stressed I was? And here's my to-do list. And to the point, I was able to close them. Do not have a funnel. Management comes before marketing. Do not have, if you don't have a place to take. And the last thing I'll say here of my rambling thoughts, I one time met a client at a coffee shop. You never know when you're going to meet your next client, collaborator, or referral source, right? You
very
can
true.
quickly be professional. Here's my QR.
Right.
Here it is. That's how you nurture that lead. Something you said, Meg, in your talk that I really loved, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but you're talking about marketing as funnels, and you're saying, listen, only 2 to 5% of people you meet are ready at that moment, like for sure to buy from you.
Yep.
Right. And so coaches, when we take all this advice that we're giving, also make sure you do it for long enough time. I swear coach was 3 weeks, was like, you know, I'm going to leave. I don't have enough clients. I'm like, 3 weeks is no business, not coaching no cupcakes. It takes a while, but the more you do it, you learn the language of your clients.
You learn the language, you learn how to create that experience, you learn how to use language at the end. You learn how to listen better and then incorporate their language into your value thing, which not only demonstrates listening, which is the most powerful thing that we can do, also makes it feel personal. Like this person is speaking to me. This package is my package. It's not, an evergreen package. The funny thing about a funnel, and actually I will share because it's possible that people could listen to this and go, this woman is like off the rails, because I've kind of gone with this concept of who says, like trying to question a little bit, like, is this what we've been told, like really the way it works with health coaching? Because I think selling health coaching is unlike selling any other product. And let's take the concept of a funnel. The concept of a funnel is based on gravity. You pour something in and without any effort, this thing, boom, just goes right down into the exact container, the product we're selling that we want it to. Coaching is not a funnel. It takes work to actually not have people even buy into our product, but actually buy into their own well-being. So, and I know this because, again, I'll go back to this wonderful experience that I had in corporate wellness, which, again, didn't pay well. 2-hour travel time each way, but it schooled me on a lot of what I've learned and utilize and teach. In corporate well-being, all these employees had free coaching available to them at any time during their workday. Okay, they could just, for some of them, it was on their lunch break because they stood on a manufacturing line, but C-suite managers, free coaching. And we were instructed we could not sit in our offices because we knew that there were many, many people out there. 80% of the population out there was probably in pre-contemplation. I always say people are in various stages of change, but they're in pre-contemplation for coaching because they're like, what is coaching? Okay, they don't know
what is coaching. There's no awareness. Talk about funnel. There's no awareness of what it is.
And then number 2 is, I don't need a coach. I just need to exercise more, right? It's just like, I just need to note to self, get myself going. I need to motivate myself. Number 3 is my husband. It is what it is, right? It's just like, oh, I have an ache. It is what it is. Oh, my, this isn't him, but, oh, my blood pressure is high. Oh, it is what it is. And I'm not really interested in addressing it right now. Okay.
Right.
Again, so when we get them into the conversation, we know our coaching skills have the ability to take someone from pre-contemplation to contemplation pretty in the moment. Why? What can we do? We can simply listen. We know that works. We can validate. Wow, you see, this right now, this isn't important to you. And imagine what that other person says. Thank you. My family has been bugging me for years to get this off my plate. Finally, someone that'll listen to me. Okay. Next thing you know, that person is standing at the front of the wellness office wanting to check in with you because you were someone that listened. So, but what I'm saying is at this corporate job, everybody was coachable, we would say, but not everybody wants to be coached. or is ready
Yes.
or understands coaching. So we were proactive about getting out of the office, walking around, engaging people in conversations at their cubicles, in the lunchroom, in the break room, taking a walk with them, but a walk with purpose. What's going on? Let's talk about, what's, boundaries, or how do you get out of the office at 5 in the afternoon? So that's what I brought into my practice, is sitting in my office all day, just posting on LinkedIn pseudo productivity. But if I can get
Mm.
someone to a pro bono session with me, then I have the ability to really hear what's important to them, where are they struggling, position myself to help. And as my son, I have 2 sons that are in high end kind of sales, money, marketing. I mean, that's their profession. They give me so much wisdom. My one son says, Mom, out of 15 deals, only two, or 150 deals, like client sourcing, business development, all those deals that are in a spreadsheet, only two of them are going to be keepers. The rest of the time, it's how can I help? So you think about, you're in that discovery call, you're noticing, I'm not sure if this is going to
Hmm.
be a fit right now for me, for them, whatever. Then just help them in that moment. I do that all the time. Okay, I'm
Yeah.
not sure if I'm a fit. Maybe they don't have the resources to work with me. Um, but in this moment, how can I help? Because you
Mm.
never know when they will be ready, or if you go and follow up. Another important aspect of what we don't always do, follow up and keep, like you did. You kept being Diego. You kept being Diego. It took me 2 years to get into Bible until I actually believed in Bible, right? But I got there, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Meg, and this is Lori T from the chat is saying a few things that kind of come to mind here. So when you said earlier, I like this. Embarrassment is a barrier to entry. Everyone has a cringe moment in the beginning. Let's assume it's going to happen. People say, I want to, all
Mm.
my students say, I want to flow. I go, listen, flow requires skill set. You can't flow on a guitar until you've been playing for a while. It's like
Mhm.
flow is a growth thing. It's not an initial thing, right? So of course, when I learn to play guitar, I'm going to make these strings. Right? Like that's part of any learning process, right? We forget that it took us as humans, years to reliably walk well. You start walking around age 1, but until you're 4 or 5, your knees are full of bruises and cuts, right? So that's part of that process. It's not a signal that you're doing something wrong. It's a signal you get back up. Like I
Yeah. Well, you're on the right path, even. Like,
you're on
you
the
did
right
it.
path,
Now
right?
you have some
Someone said,
feedback. What went well? What went well? What didn't go well? How did this feel? Is this something I want to do again? I didn't feel good,
yeah,
but it seemed to resonate. Let me see if I can, like, tweak it a little bit, right?
yeah. And then she
You
also
have
said
what's
this
called,
comment.
yeah,
Oh,
go
sorry, go ahead,
ahead.
Meg. I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
No.
I apologize. I think my computer did a little bit of lag here. But she also said something a few minutes ago that really stuck too. It's more about matchmaking than convincing. Shifts takes a lot of the pressure off. And that's actually counterintuitively because no one likes to be sold, right? When I was
Yeah.
doing discovery calls and I was talking for 45 minutes and then I'm like, what did you have for me? Of course, no one landed, right? And to your something earlier about personalization, I say if someone's selling a personalized plan online before they met you, by definition, it's not personalized. And so,
Right.
and
Yeah.
so coaching that discovery call is so crucial because I mean, here's the reality. It's not passive because our whole industry, the limiting factor is awareness, top of the funnel. If I'm a dentist, all right, people at least know what dentists are. I can put up a say, I'm a dental clinic, I'm going in town, people gotta get their teeth cleaned or cavities filled, whatever, they come to you. But people are pre-contemplative coaching because they don't know what
Mhm.
coaching is. And
Right.
this came out of the conference this year, came up last year too. And I think at one point I mentioned this, just my hand saying this. I go, listen, we can't just wait for NBC-HWC or ICF or anyone else to do the work of promoting it. It is you promoting it as well. We all in parallel can talk
Yeah.
about what we're doing. And
Yep.
coaching is an experiential thing. It's like to the point, you want to get someone to experience that. It's like describing swimming in the ocean, someone who's never been around water, right? How do you describe that
Mhm.
feeling of diving off a cliff? If you like, you have to experience it. And so there is that we can all take that local responsibility um, to do those things, right? And when you actually listen to someone, I'll give some practical advice here, right? Like a lot of coaches, even when they're students, say, "What's the next question to ask?" I go, "That's the wrong question. Just listen and see if you can reflect back." And if you look at sales and marketing, we as coaches can solve so many problems. I'll be honest with you, Viably has a lot of features, right? But when I'm
Mhm.
talking now, and I've gone from supporting solo coaches to now companies, what is your main problem? Focus on that, right? So if they say I really need a lot of forms to be done well, I'm not going to talk about how advanced scheduling is way more amazing.
Right. Exactly.
It's the
Yep.
listening, and people are so wowed by this because in our culture, people aren't taught to listen. Everyone's talking at
Mhm.
you, and that honest, that authentic caring and like being there for someone and authentically listening is so refreshing and is human connection. And help them. Just think about, can I help them? Not can I sell them? When I started having that mentality, it took the pressure off me. I wasn't salesy. And I'll give a quick story here that like when I was before I got certified, to the point, I was trying to get these sessions in, right? And I'm gonna go over if you're okay with time, Meg. Do you have a few minutes to go
Yeah.
over before we wrap up? Is that okay on you? Okay.
Totally good.
Um, great. So this went to this person's house, and we to have a session. It was a friend of a friend, so I trusted him, and so I was like, all right. And this guy worked in property development management, and his house had bedrooms, a bedroom and a studio, and like a gym room, and a living room in the middle, like the kitchen. And so, what do you want to explore for health and well-being? He goes, well, you're a health coach, so I guess I gotta work on stopping vaping. And what I said was like, what do you actually want to work on?
Right.
He goes, what do you mean? I'm like, you didn't sound super convinced here. Like, I mean, I don't, it doesn't matter to me what I want to work on. It's really whatever you want to work on. He's like, and so that how coaching is. I'm like, you decide the goal. My job is help orient around internal motivation and then processes. Processes, by the way, do not matter until motivation. Anyone can make a SMART goal. Go to a nutritionist, it's a SMART goal. Go to your doctor, it's a SMART goal. It's the motivation that makes the difference to take those steps, right? And so he goes, well, I'm like, listen, you don't worry about my part of the partnership. Just say what's on your mind that you want to. He's like, well, me and I've been recording a CD for my sister for her birthday. It already passed, and I'm late on it, and I just can't get it done. I'm having like writer's block, and that's something we can work on. And I was like, here we can make anything a process model. Let's go ahead and dive in. An hour and a half session, and we nerded out about. I play guitar, so we learned about like different recording software and resources, blah blah. End of the day, the goal was to coach in his kitchen. I mean, to write in his kitchen, the only room that had no equipment because it was nice lighting, and he could not be distracted by these things.
Right.
Anyways, fast forward. That's the only time I saw him. It was a micro session. He gave me a hand up for that, and that was good. I saw him like 9 months later. I ran into him at like a party or something. And I never, when I meet someone who I have a coach, I never like say, hey, good, how's it going, right? But later on, he pulled me aside and goes, hey, you know what? I stopped vaping, right? Like he led to his own thing. If you can listen to your clients and just authentically, like Lori's saying, it's about matchmaking and convincing,
Right.
right? I had a
Yeah.
client asked me to do a weight loss coaching. I go, you know what? I don't love doing that. I prefer doing mental health coaching. Let me find someone who's better at that or who
Right.
prefers
Be
that.
of service, right? That's not for me,
Be
but
of
now you be of
service.
service. And then who knows, then that person who goes to that coach will then recommend you for what you offer. That's again, I think we're often saying get referrals. Okay. Well, making that a task in launch, you're almost having to sell yourself into somebody else until you have had some experience with that one-on-one, right? Those
Yeah.
referrals kind of will come organically as you do those first three things. You know,
Yeah.
go all in, be able to take a client and start inviting people into discovery calls where you can really demonstrate the value of coaching, help them buy into their own wellness, and then queue up your services as the solution, right? And
Yeah.
honestly, the other thing that I feel this simple, not sexy, but simple process does for new coaches, or even if you're pivoting after languishing, like kind of jumping back in. To
Hmm.
me, it solves imposter syndrome because the more we spend in these other areas of visibility and we're not talking to people one on one, the farther away we're getting away from our product, right? We forget what the product
Mm.
is. We forget how to do the product. We have to forget how to be the product. We lose faith that we could deliver the goods, right? But if you can
Yeah.
line up those discovery calls, even if they don't land in that moment, you're always coaching, right? You're using those skills. You're listening to people. You're able to leave a discovery and call, what went well? What could I improve? What was the person's takeaway? What is,
Mm.
you're also defining your niche. That's another one of my who says we need a niche. Yes, you need a
Yeah.
niche, but the way to get to a niche is to leap and the niche will appear, right? It's kind of like
Yes.
you
Yes.
got to jump in,
Yeah.
start talking to people that are kind of in that realm, and then you're listening. Oh, and then you're even having an experience. Oh, I really felt aligned when I was talking to that person. Oh, that person, their situation, I'm just not sure. It just felt like it would be a lot of work, right? Um,
Yes.
all
Yeah.
these things happen in the doing, right? Not in the thinking about it, right?
Non the watching one more video on how to get exactly.
Yeah.
Meg, I think the
Anyway,
through line I'm kind of seeing here is that when we are authentic, like it's something that one of your sons mentioned to you, right? Some of these things are, you know, sales and business, they're non-linear, non-deterministic, right? If you, I was to Jad, my co-founder, the engineer about this, right? He's like, I can spend some amount of hours and I will get a certain amount of product out. But with sales and marketing, it's honestly, I mean, there's percentage wise we try to get, but you never know who's going to be that amazing connection or what it is. If you can just be authentic yourself, people pick on that and that you're genuine. Like there have been connections I've had either for my solo practice. I met someone 8 months later, they came back because they were ready now, right? Or you talk to someone that you really genuine them out, and then like with no expectation, 2 years later, they come out and help you with the business opportunity, right?
exactly. You
People
never
do
know.
basically know and trust. It is better to turn down someone and they go, wow, that person has integrity, and it will come later. So I think that's also put something you said earlier. It's a timely process. It's the reason why it's called nurturing something. If you're planting a seed, it doesn't grow overnight, right? But you got to plant a lot of seeds today. Every day planting seeds, you have
Keep
fruits
watering them.
tomorrow.
You have to keep watering them. And Diego, I know we're over time, but I want to share a real world story, and I know the person will be okay with me sharing with this pro bono session
Please.
with a great coach, and this just happened recently because I want to give you some data. She was like,
Yes.
she will be working with busy women in tech. And she's worked in
Mhm.
tech, so she's had that lifestyle. She's juggled all the many roles, all the different things. So she's got this kind of niche. So she knows tech. And she said, I heard I need this funnel. So I set up this whole funnel over here. And then this was our second session. Second, I had introduced this idea of local, like to reach out to people like in your thing. Came back the second time and she said, here's my data. I've noticed that over here on the funnel side, I'm not getting any engagement with these people. I put this stuff out there and it just kind of lands and it doesn't really go anywhere. But I notice when I'm showing up on my neighborhood Facebook page, the moms groups, the people that are in the coffee shop, the people, she said, I'm wondering if I should, that's where I kind of thought that thing, this is global versus local, because she kind of used those words like local. I'm wondering if I should go more local and, kind of put the funnel off to the side. And I said, I don't know. What do you think? I mean, you have the data. I said, what's the data telling you, right? But she had collected this data, and I think her data is quite accurate in the startup phase. That these email funnels, where you're just trying to reach a lot of people, unless I'm not discouraging you, go for it if that's what you want to do. That's a little bit more grow. But this local thing, she was actually getting traction and having people email her back and express interest in the program, the little workshop that she was doing. So she said, "Well, I'm thinking, what
Yeah.
should I do?" And I'm like, "Data seems to be talking to you, and I'm not a data analyst like you are." But so
Yeah.
again, I I'm a big. I think there's evidence to say rein in all those big ideas in the startup phase, get your storefront set up
Yes.
so you can show up professionally and actually have something tangible. I have messaging, I have easy appointment setting, I can protect your notes. I can send you a form. I can send you this fun resource, value add, and then just get into what I call an engagement flow with that. Just work
Yes.
that flow and just work it for 6 months over and over and over again. Every time you see a shiny object, just say, grow, parking lot,
Yeah.
get over there.
Yes. Yes, Meg. I really love this simplification of things, like because ideas will come to you, and to me, I think so many I have to like park somewhere because there's anxiety I'm gonna forget it, and just understand. Okay, it's a grow idea, and this idea don't the data. This doesn't only apply to solo providers. You look at any like YC incubator, right? Really well known. Many big companies came from, right? They have a lot of videos on for startups, right? The whole thing is to help startups start. And they have the exact same advice. And Justin Jad told me with his business experience early, he's like, class ideas. Okay, we should do this. He's like, let's get the first 100 clients first. We have to learn. We're not going to build funnels until we know it actually works. This is true of
Right.
design, of tech, that you can think something's going to work and then you spend all this time, money, it doesn't. You have to learn manually first. And that's what gives you the information of what to the next workshop on or how to look to your audience, right?
Yeah.
After talking to thousands of coaches, I understand that what like the common things and also it's individual, right? But it is that experience, as Lori mentioned, like embarrassment is a barrier to entry. Like it's the doing will
Yeah.
happen, and sorry, the walking makes it happen. And in person, there's just so much more, quite literally, right? You'll see your whole body, the energy there, and um, your niche is something that said early on too. I understand why we niche down. It's also okay to have multiple niches. Bob is designed for that. It's also okay to not know
Mhm.
your niche and develop over time. I've always worked female dominated fields, medicine, I mean, pediatrics, excuse me. I taught preschool for a year, um, coaching. But I started getting one of my niches besides adolescents was adolescent males. It's the moms who say, I can't find a therapist or a coach for the male. And you're also bilingual, grew up in Miami too. So I get a lot of adolescent, Hispanic or Hispanic background males that refer to me. It's nothing that I decided to be, right? I didn't even market that. It kind of came to me a little bit. So you're going to learn by going out there, and the confidence goes in there. Having whatever platform it is, whether it's mine or not, this advice is for everyone. It made me way more. And that's my clients. I was like, because when I was building it, I was like, all right, give me advice as I'm building it. And they're like, Diego, this is the support we need. It seems I have so much more understanding of my journey, and it feels like a real thing versus just hopping on a webcam every once in a while, right? So, with that said, with time, Meg, I definitely have to be back on another episode. Maybe it will be our grow episode. I think honestly, there's so much more left in the launch phase. To be honest with you, we can touch something that will plant this seed. Something that I think that you said so well at the conference that I hadn't articulated well and maybe think of it differently. And I've given this advice a lot more recently when I'm talking to people. So I give you Meg credit when I do. Um, we're always focused on our clients, right? Getting our clients. But you said, who's your clients? Look at who's referral or collaborators, right?
Right.
And there's different forms of trust and referrals. And so I say, for example, if you're focusing on your coaching on weight management or weight loss, partnering with a gym. And here's a trick. Don't
Right.
say, hey, Jim, I'm going to help your clients lose weight. What problem are you solving for the gym? The gym wants longer memberships. I go,
Right.
hey, I help people stick around with their plans as a coach. The whole thing I do is make sure you stick to your resolutions past January. And so we can help our clients get the result they want and they stick with their gym longer, right? You go to the doctor instead of saying, hey, your patients get their stuff. I help with those non-compliance, those people you really want to serve and are frustrated how to support them. So as you start expanding your network, some of these people come in to refer to you, it's not only clients to clients, who also helps support the clients that you support. And what do you have is by you helping the clients, does that help out too? Right. So I'll plant that seed there, Meg.
Absolutely. Coaches do a lot of things. I think these are all these great conversations. And again, these are ones that I have with people when I work with them. I do think there's value in finding a coaching home, like somewhere in your community where you can kind of set your stake, anchor your coaching practice. But honestly, I'm going to catch us on this. That's grow.
Yeah.
This is launched, because when you're doing that, that's actually what's,
Love it.
again, B2B marketing. You're actually,
Yes.
and that's different and harder than B2C, because now you got to sell in to that organization. So you got to be clear. You got to
Yes.
have a different email. You got to have a different. Again, I just want to say this because my niche is really this startup phase, and so I kind of feel like I've recognized that we give this grow advice a lot of times, like, oh, just go down the road and tell the gym. No, you got to have an email, then you got to follow up, then if you want to go down that path, that is great. But recognize it's not just as simple as walking in the door. You've got to have that that sales fund. It's a sales process. I'm going to send this. I'm going to have my QR code, then I'm going to do a follow up, then I'm going to follow up again. I'm going to have the language to solve their problems, different than solving individual problems. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah.
Right.
I love that you brought that up, Meg, because I was kind of trying to like plant for maybe next time too. But yeah, exactly. Stick with the
Well,
launch
we can
part
talk
first.
about that because that's a great topic, right? Is
Yeah.
finding a wellness home and selling into an organization, but it's a little bit different, right?
That's a grow. Yeah. Meg,
Yeah.
so as we wrap up here, where can people find out more about you, more how you support coaches? Want to connect with you a little further, Meg?
Yeah, I appreciate that. So I'm on LinkedIn. And if you look, I think LinkedIn is a great place for coaches. So if you follow me on LinkedIn, I am going to follow you back. And even I'm open to conversations with people who message me on LinkedIn. That's my MO. I have my Substack, Lean Into Coaching. It's a free Substack right now. Diego was my 200th subscriber, which was kind of fun. And that was that was actually a signpost for me. I call these signposts, where I love all my subscribers, but I can see the emails. And when I saw Diego's and I saw Celia Lanier, the author of
She's wonderful.
I love her book.
Yeah.
When I saw her subscription, I was like, okay, I'm on the right path. It's got some people following me, right? So, but my Substack is free, and I actually write on these topics. Everything from coaching skills a little bit more, but also really launching and kind of that really early startup phase of your coaching practice. So join me over there. All my services are listed there. But the best place to find me now is actually on Vibely, because what I've been able to do is take all my services, which were kind of like a big fat post, and put them on these fun little cards where you can really understand the value of each service and what they bring. And I'd love for you to schedule either a discovery call or take advantage of one of my pro bono sessions, because we can actually do a lot in just one single free session.
Yeah.
And thank you for having me.
Your life can change every day. No, Meg, it's really been an honor, a pleasure. Be the first of many times. It's when I had Cecilia on last year, around in November of 2024, on to also the wonderful provider. And so I love that this community, we're so collaborating, supporting each other. And as you can tell, Meg is as genuine as they come, right? Like, people do want to help you out. Here's the thing, coaches help coaches out a lot, right? We really care. And so she has the experience. Meg, we'll do all the posts here to include your Vibely profile and all your links as well. Feel free to in the comments to reach out to Meg. She is wonderful, open. That's how someone connected us together, and it's been a wonderful connection. I'm so glad that was Sonia who did that for us. I'm following you too from afar, and so it's so good to kind of actually finally meet. So Meg, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Really, truly appreciate it. To everyone out there, just get started one step at a time, right? Everything is possible. It's what we do for our job. We can do that for ourselves. Signature line. Love it. All right, we'll see you guys shortly for our next episode.
Everyone.
And
Thank
anything
you
you need,
listening.
we're always here.
Take care. Bye.
Okay, stop recording. Let's see.